created a new project called input. Let's change it. Now in this, I wish to calculate the area of a circle. So I would need the radius of that circle. So I make a variable radius. Let me zoom it so that it's more clear to you. Then I initialize radius as some particular value, and then I make another variable area, and in this I store the area of circle. And finally I'll print my result. In fact, let me give a message also so that it becomes more user friendly. The area of the circle is, and then I'll write area. We can try to run it. So this gives me area of circle is 12.56. Now what if someday I decide that I wish to use this constant pi up to 3 decimal places? Okay, I can add the third digit over here. But imagine that you have 1,000 lines of code, and in like 100 lines you are using this pi. Changing the value at all of those 100 lines would be very difficult, would be very tiring actually. So what is the alternate? We can make another variable pi storing the value as 3.14, and then you can use this variable at all the places where you are writing the number 3.14, and then when you want to make it available to you up to 3 decimal places, you can directly change it at just one place, and the change would be reflected at all the places where you are using pi. Then pi, what if accidentally you try to do something like this? You are changing the value of pi, which in fact is a constant. So when you make a variable, this is the advantage and this is the disadvantage too. Since it is a variable, it is able to vary, which is correct. But if you are making a constant a variable, this creates problems. So we have a solution for that. We can make it a const. So adding this keyword makes my variable a constant. So it's not able to vary anymore. If I write pi equals to 3 now and try to build it, the compiler would give me an error. Assignment of read-only variable pi. Since pi is a constant value, it cannot be used on the left-hand side of equal to sign. There are some terms which are used in almost all the programming languages. There is a term called Lvalue and a term called R-value. Lvalue is just your left hand side value and R-value is just your right hand side value. So any constant can be used only on the right hand side. It cannot be used as an Lvalue. So here you are trying to use your constant as an Lvalue. In fact, you need to initialize your constant in the definition part only. If you try to break it into two parts, like you define it in one step and initialize in the other, this still is wrong, because it's giving you two errors: uninitialized constant and assignment of read only variable. This line is giving you use assignment of read only variable, and this is giving you uninitialized constant. Your constant has to be initialized at the same step, because after your definition statement is over, you can never use your constant as L value, and hence you would not be able to initialize it. So that's why it becomes necessary to initialize your constant. That is about constants. Now I wish to calculate the area of another circle with a different radius. So I'll have to change the radius here and then run it again. This means that whenever I wish to use this program, I need to make changes to the source code itself. But if you think about the programs you use in your daily life, like maybe the railway reservation system, or if you have a database system in your school or your college, you would realize that none of them requires you to change the source code. In fact, if that would have been the case, these programs would have been pretty well useless, as most of their users don't know anything about programming languages, and they are not supposed to know anything about programming languages. So they would not be able to use the program which you have made. In real life, what you do is you provide some input and get the desired output. Let's try to implement the same concept in our program as well. So instead of initializing radius, I wish to accept radius from user. So just like cout, which is output to the console, we have a cin, which is input through the console. And the operator would just be the opposite, since here you can visualize it somewhat like this. Here you are taking this string and putting it to this object, which is the console output object, your printer. In this case, you are taking something from the console input object and putting it in this variable. So you can, this is just a way to which would reduce the mistake in using these operators. So I would give a cout statement here as well. Enter the radius. And let's run it now. So this gives me the statement enter the radius. Let's write 10, and this writes the area of circle is 314.2. Now change the program which you have made earlier about the percentage of a student's marks. This time, instead of initializing your variables storing the marks, take input from user. User will give you the various marks and then calculate percentage accordingly.